Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you watched the previous video in which I talked about the different parts of a flower, the functions of the different parts of a flower. Now, why is flower considered the most important part of a plant? Because the flower is considered the most important part of a plant because number one, it helps in pollination. And number two, it helps in fertilization. So, the two important functions of a flower as a whole is it helps in pollination and it helps in fertilization. Today, we'll be discussing about this term, that is pollination. Now, if you remember, I had told you last time that the androecium, that is the male part of a flower, consists of stamens, and each stamen has two parts, anther and filament. And I also told you that the function of this stamen or the androecium is to produce pollen grains, and pollen grains are produced in the anther. And this is the structure of the gynoecium, which consists of pistils. This I have already done in the previous video. Stigma, stem, and ovary. And I told you the function of the ovary is to produce ovules. So this has been already done in the previous video. Now, what is pollination? The transfer of this, that means to pass on. So the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower is known as pollination. The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. Now, pollination is of two types. Pollination is of two types: self-pollination and cross-pollination. So what do you mean by the term self-pollination and what do you mean by the term cross-pollination? So suppose this is a plant, this is one flower here, and this is one flower here. Another plant. Okay. Now, if pollination, that means transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, takes place in the same flower, that means the pollen grains is transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, we call it self-pollination. Okay? In some cases, the transfer of pollen grains occurs from the anther to the stigma of different flowers but of the same plant. Then it is still self-pollination. So if pollen grains is transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flowers of the same plant, we call it self-pollination. But in some cases, the pollen grains is transferred from the anther of one flower of one plant to the stigma of rose plant. Okay, then we call it cross-pollination. So pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. If pollination occurs in the same flower or different flowers of the same plant, we call it self-pollination. But if pollination occurs in flowers of different plant but of the same type, we call it cross-pollination. Now, suppose now for cross-pollination, the pollen grains cannot walk. They cannot walk from one flower to another flower. That means something has to carry it. So the pollen grains has to be carried from one flower to another flower by something. So we call it agents of pollination. Okay, so the pollination, cross-pollination occurs through agents. And the most important agent we all see around us are insects. For example, butterfly, bee. Okay, so this type, the first type of agents are insects. The next one, when the wind blows, the pollen grains are very light, so they can be carried from one flower to another. So the next agent is wind. And first, plants which grow in water. The water will carry the pollen grains from one flower to another. So the next agent is water. So there are many other agents, but we'll be talking about only three or discussing about only three: insects, wind and water. The first agent is insects. So if pollination is to be done by insects, then what should the flower be like? Now, if the flower is very small, insects will not come. If the flower is not colored, insects will not come. So if pollination has to take place, and if insects are supposed to help in pollination, the first thing is the flower should be large. They should be large. Number two, they should be colorful. Number three, most important one, they should produce nectar. If they don't produce nectar, insects will not come. So they should produce nectar. Number four, now the pollen grains have to stick on their body, isn't it? So that they can, when they go to another flower, the pollen grains, they stick to their wings or to their body. So the pollen grains should be sticky, so that it sticks on the body of the insect. Now, if only the pollen grains are sticky, it will not help. The stigma should also be sticky, so that the pollen grains stick on them when the insect goes and sits on another flower. So the pollen grain should be sticky. The stigma should also be sticky. Stigma should also be sticky. And the last, the most important, of course it is very important, pollen grain should be produced in large quantity. Pollen grains should be produced in large quantity. So these are the characteristics of a flower which is pollinated by insects. Number one, it should be large. Now it should be colorful. It should produce nectar. The pollen grain should be sticky. The stigma should be sticky. And pollen grain should be produced in large quantity. The next one. Wind. Now wind is not attracted to any flower which is large, it just blows. Okay, so the flower need not be large, it not be colorful. Okay, and then it need not produce nectar, because those things don't attract wind. Wind keeps on blowing. The most important thing here is the pollen grains should be light and the pollen grains should be dry. The pollen grain should be light and it should be dry so that the wind can carry it along with it. Okay, and of course, number 3, pollen grains should be produced in large quantities. And the last one, pollination by water. Here also, the flower need not be large, it need not be colorful, it need not produce nectar because water is not attracted to all things, it keeps on flowing. So here also, so that the water can carry it along with it, the pollen grains should be light. The pollen grains should be light. Next one is the pollen grain should be produced in large quantities. And the most important thing is the anther as well as the stigma, it should be popping out. So that when the water is flowing, it can easily carry off the pollen grains and easily transfer it to the stigma. So the anther and the stigma should be popping out from the flower, or it should be hanging out from the flower. The stigma and the anther should be hanging out. So I hope you everyone understood what we did today. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe my channel.